OU's offense. You put 50 points on a really solid defense. Now, we're going to find stuff to complain about because that's what we do. But let's not forget, this does not happen to Iowa State defenses. 50 points, 40 on them in the first half. Over 500 yards of offense.
Stopped us once. Well, we had the interception and one punt.
Yeah, this does not happen to a John Haycock defense. It just doesn't. But it did on Saturday night. And let's start here. I thought Jeff Levy called a really nice game.
Agree.
Right. And while I'm still not a huge fan of how they're doing some things in the running game, I do appreciate this. The main concepts that they had going in the running game, right? A lot of different outside zone looks, wide zone, whatever you want to call it, from the offensive line. They ran several variations, right? Different motions going on in the backfield, right? Outside zone, split outside zone. They ran like some outside zone reads, some outside reverse zone read, right? Where the one running back's going wide and DG's kind of the dive guy. There was a good variety, and then it built into play action, which they would fake the outside zone and boot. They would fake the zone insert and throw it down the field, right? They even had, the handback action from last year where he broke it out and threw the deep play action. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was one of Levy's best called games where he's building plays on one another, and that makes it extremely challenging on a defense. But Ted, just general thoughts, like still not the running game's just not explosive. But longest run was 18 yards. Now, Dillon Gabriel becoming more involved as a runner, I think is a positive thing, but they're still struggling to find space in the running game. And I think at this point, it's just time to accept that the passing attack is clearly the strength of this offense. Mm-hmm. And Dillon Gabriel and those wide receivers, that's what this offense is going to have to lean on, because the running game, the movement at the line of scrimmage, it's not near where it needs to be. And there's just not a lot of space for whatever reason. And I am at the acceptance point of, hey, this is going to be let's call it a pass first football team. Like, that's the strength of the offense.
Yeah. Well, obviously you would love to be elite at absolutely everything, but for whatever reason, some of that stuff's not coming together right now. I think it's good. What did we run? Like I think we hit right on our average against Iowa State, which
157, average 3.8 a carry.
Yeah. And, we'd love to have numbers a lot higher than that. And the real issue is, like, usually whenever you look at people in the box score and it's like, oh, they ran for 225 yards. It's usually they average, about 4.5 a carry. And then there's like 2 or 3 super explosive plays in there that get you to that number. We just don't have any of those explosive runs.
I think our most explosive runs of the season have all been called back for holding.
Right.
So, yeah, it's hard to be frustrated with putting 50 on Iowa State, though.
Yep,
right.
No doubt.
I am. And let's start with Dillon Gabriel. 26-39, 3 touchdowns, an interception, did a lot in the running game, right? A couple rushing touchdowns. I thought the first half was as good as I've seen him in an OU uniform. I thought he played in just the entire game. I thought he played with an aggressive mentality in the throw game and as a runner. Like, guy played with some fire on Saturday night, and I can get on board with that. And it certainly gets the juices flowing when you truck a dude for a touchdown run early in the game.
That was awesome. Now, the first thing I think about even though it was an Iowa State guys, I think, oh my God, I feel bad for that guy in film review tomorrow. It's just going to be horrible.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be able to sleep. That's all he's going to think about on the ride home. It's going to be a miserable 24 or 48 hours for that guy.
Yeah. Well, luckily they picked on 18 quite a bit, so he's got a lot to think about. He's got a lot to think about. But I thought some of DG's timing throws on the comebacks, right? You think of that Nick Anderson, it was kind of like a post and then like a stop. I don't know exactly what they call it, but I thought some of the timing routes, some of the out routes, I thought he was as on time as he's been, right? We talked about him being a little late on some things, and I thought he was really crisp, and the ball had some velocity on him.
Yeah.
Like he was letting it rip. I do love that he gave his guys chances to make plays down the field. I talk about it a lot. He's at his best when he's got an aggressive mentality when it comes to pushing it down the field. Now, did Brennan Thompson have to wait on that one? Absolutely. But that guy is fast.
Yes, he is.
I mean, hopefully he's okay. It looks like he got a little banged up, but hopefully he's fine because we could use that speed against the Longhorns. But Dillon Gabriel, he gave his guys chances to go make plays. And I just thought that him becoming more involved in the run game, teams are going to have to dedicate more time to that in their preparation. The interception he threw was really nice route recognition from the Iowa State guy. And Dillon Gabriel should have just thrown it away. But all in all, I thought he was really good, man. Really good against that defense to carve him up the way that he did. That's good stuff.
Yeah, he was great. And I agree on like we think of a lot of times with our offense, it feels like we're either throwing it deep or we're throwing the bubble stuff, the lateral stuff. But he was great on all of the comeback stuff, man. Out the speed outs from the slot guys where they're catching it there on the sideline. He was money on all that stuff. He looked good, had plenty of zip. Like you said, he was fired up out there, getting in the running game and getting up and letting guys know about it. He was entertaining on Saturday night. That was fun.
Yeah, he needs to bring that same energy to the Cotton Bowl. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it. Okay, wide receiver wise, I wanted to start with Jaden Gibson because that touchdown catch, and I kind of forgot that was on 4th down.
I forgot. I didn't even realize it until I just saw it in the rundown.
Yeah, that was on 4th down. It was an important play. But that catch he had, that is as good of an individual play from a wide receiver as we've seen in a long time. Right? To know you're about to get hit. First of all, hell of a throw from Dillon Gabriel. I mean, what a throw. But to know you're about to take that shot, he even sees it. Like he peeks before he catches it and saw it coming. Take the shot, run through guys to go score a touchdown. I mean, what a fantastic individual play. Kept the balance. That was as good as we've seen from an OU wide receiver in a long time. Since CeeDee Lamb, honestly.
Every time he touches the ball lately, it's been something like there has been no routine plays for Jaden Gibson. It doesn't feel like this season. They've all been big moments, big plays, crazy catches. And that was awesome. And that's nice to see. Like, through the first couple of games this year, it's like, where's the star power? We're going to have some guys start really showing up and showing out. And the receiving core has done exactly that. They've really shown out.
Yeah. And Gibson hit. So he has that play, but he also has a really nice catch on a comeback where he's working one-on-one against TJ Tampa, who a lot of people think is going to be a first-round pick, right? Good, strong hands catch, competitive play. So I continue to think he's getting better and better. Drake Stoops, I mean, it's the same thing every week. Consistent, physical. It seems like he drew, I don't know how many pass interferences he drew, and there were a couple. He runs an out route at one point and makes the safety fall down. Shakes him so bad, the safety fall down and just grabs his feet. And Drake gets up, is like, what? And they didn't even call it. So but he had the touchdown catch,
Which
even had
that
a
drive,
PBU.
oh yeah, we needed that too. That drive that we capped off with his touchdown was one of the best. Like just with the way the clock was ticking down, the way we schemed the red zone. That's the highest level I've seen our offense operate since Levy's been here.
Yeah, it was really good. And it was a 2-minute situation, but short field, and they just kept getting penalties. We just kept scheming up good stuff.
Yep.
It
Yep.
was good. You're right. Farouk, 5 for 81, had the nice long catch where he battled through a guy tackling him. He could have had a long touchdown. Right. They go max protect, kind of zone insert play action. And Stogner in the back. Neither of them blocked the backer that adds to the rush, or else it's a touchdown for Farouk. He's going to run right by the guy. And Dillon Gabriel still almost got it there.
Yeah.
But I continue to believe just find ways to get the ball in his hands, right? Good things happen. Also, getting real aggressive in the kickoff return game.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, he's like, hey, I'm bringing this sucker out. It don't matter what happens.
Yeah. I'm feeling it. Andrell Anthony, quiet night for him, right? With what we've come to expect from him. But you watch tape, ran a lot of good routes. He was open, and sometimes this is life at wide receiver. Sometimes you do everything right, you get open, and the ball doesn't come your way. So it's good to see him get open, but hey, it just happens that way sometimes. But he also continues to do a really nice job as a blocker, whether that's the RPO stuff out on the perimeter or just run game. Like he's doing a nice job. Gavin Freeman, it's good to see him get some touches that weren't just speed sweeps or like going lateral or anything like that.
It was nice.
That was good to see. Nick Anderson had the long touchdown. Gosh, he runs some beautiful routes, man.
Yeah, for the length he's got, he's super tight and explosive in his footwork.
Yeah, and that was another beautifully schemed up play from Levy, right? Putting that deep third player in conflict. He bit the cheese, and Nick Anderson is wide open.
Boy,
so
DG let that one run out a little bit. I had
maybe
me nervous.
That ball felt like it was in the air for eternity. It was like maybe perfect. Put that one on a line, maybe.
He didn't give himself any margin for error there, and he happened to throw just the perfect ball. That was beautiful.
Yeah, Nick Anderson, more targets, more touches for that man.
Yeah,
more targets, more touches, and then we mentioned Brennan Thompson. That dude can fly. We'll see what his role ends up being, but when you got speed like that, you usually can find some ways to use a guy.
No doubt. If anything, just to run the entire secondary off because they're fearful of how fast he is and getting behind everyone. Good.
Yeah. All right. Run game thoughts. It was a Marcus Major week, Ted.
Yeah.
It was his week to be the guy. And what they were doing in the zone running game, it really was just their inside zone, tight zone play, but they just had the offensive line take outside zone footwork to make Iowa State's defensive linemen move a little bit, right? Because they're so good at two gapping, which is smart, but it was still very horizontal, no dent in the front side. There's never a threat of the ball going front side. It's almost like you're showing outside zone, but it's like dive. So it's kind of weird to watch it. It seems like it's all designed to cut back. And I don't know, it's just not a lot of space, man. And they hit him with it a couple times early, and then Iowa State made some adjustments. Those backside defenders really hung backside, and there really wasn't much there. When it did go front side a couple times, yikes, did not look good.
PFLs, right?
Yeah.
They had the whole front
I think every single one of them.
Yeah.
What do you think? I know you're watching it up there as with the defensive eye. I don't know, man. Help me out.
I feel like the timing is odd.
The
You know,
timing, like the track of the back,
yeah.
the path that the offensive line is on, like it doesn't match up.
And even on some of the counter or not counter, but the gap scheme stuff that we were doing, the timing, and I don't know if it was maybe something that Iowa State, like the field like just changed and it's not what they were intending, but the like a lot of the stuff is like too slow. Some of the gap scheme stuff is too slow, and like we're there's some big asks for some of the back block stuff whenever we're pulling with the alignment that we're getting. And I don't know, it's just like I said, it overall just the timing of it feels different, feels weird. There's a lot of it cuts back, like you said, but in order to get something that has a successful cutback, there's got to be a really a dangerous threat on the front side to get guys running and flying over the top and exposing the cutback instead of just automatically cutting it back.
Ted, what would your reaction be if I told you Iowa State made an adjustment to where they just had their nose guard jump backside when he felt outside zone, like loop all the way into the backside, let's say backside B gap?
Yeah.
Would you say that nose tackle felt threatened about getting reached and the ball going front side?
No. And, at times defensively on stretch, an adjustment is to tell the guys to get reached. Just go ahead and get reached and penetrate, and it can clear everything up for the backers on the backside. But usually that's after, they've hit you on the front side a lot. Like that's usually like when you're getting a hit on the front side, an adjustment. Like we're replacing a defensive lineman for a linebacker on the front side. So yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, it's weird. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, the passing attack is the strength of the team, right? The strength of the offense. It's the strength of the offense. Now, after all that complaining, Marcus Major did do some nice things.
I agree.
Right? I thought he did a nice job, especially early, getting downhill. Mm-hmm. Decisive cuts, pouring it downhill, finishing runs physically. I continue to think he's best out in space, right? I really like some of the stuff where they're just throwing him that swing screen and letting him operate out there in space. Now, and you pointed it out on the broadcast, there was one, if he just goes inside of Drake Stoops' block, who knows what happened. He may still be running, but he did a good job. He looked the most explosive out of any of the guys that we've seen. Like that was as explosive and decisive as a back has looked to me this season, right? With what he put on tape, especially early in that game. I thought he played fast, man.
Yeah. No, I did too. I thought, he's tough, he's physical, he runs hard, he's downhill. Like the one thing he's missing is like that ankle pick tackle on the perimeter.
Yeah, he had one run. It was like that reverse zone read thing where he's going wide and he's out in space a little bit. He made a guy miss. He like spun, and you and I were both like, "Ooh, okay." But
yeah,
he's just not a guy that's going to make a bunch of guys miss, right? That's kind of where I'm at with him at this point.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there's some. I think he's would be a great like true outside zone runner. I mean that
Let's just not talk about it, man. He's a perfect one cut outside zone guy. He's perfect, but
and we have great receivers to work off of it. Like whenever you think of some of the best play action quarterbacks in teams, it's off outside zone because the quarterback's got that ball way out there for the defense to see. It's like, oh my God, it's run, obvious. No, it's not. He's got it way out there, and then he's going to pull it back. Whole defense is flying to one side, and then you can run deep balls and crossers and boot, all kinds of stuff. Like our boot is like, it's right here, and then we're booting. It's not even a real boot. You know what? Does that make? It's like,
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
it's a shoe. We run a slipper, not a boot. Like boot, there's got to be like a big action.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. We saw some Sawchuk, right?
Yeah.
It was good to see him out there, but I don't really know if there's much to take away. There was not much space when he got the football.
Yeah.
Right. Now
it does feel like it's hard to really find any of the running backs, like their identity or everyone's like creativity in their running game, because it's all, again, like we've talked about, kind of compact, and everyone kind of gets the same looks.
yeah. But you got anything else the running back spot? That's really what I saw.
Yeah.
Offensive line, Walter Rouse definitely dealing with something. Was not moving particularly well. Ended up having like an ankle spat late in the game. So I'm sure that's connected, but he didn't have what I like to call the play strength, right? He didn't have the play strength he's had. And I'm guessing that's a result of what's going on there. He was not moving as well as he did a week ago against Cincinnati. And it was really noticeable in some of the run game stuff where he had to redirect a little bit. He couldn't, I don't know. It didn't look like he had much suddenness at all. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Jacob Sexton, he looks like a guy that's missed a lot of time, right? And he has, right? When you go back to the knee injury in the bowl game, going to take some time to knock that rust off. Also, still a young player. That frame needs to get filled out a little more. His play strength, the effort and like the identification and the athleticism are good, man. Right? I think he plays with like some suddenness, some urgency, but the play strength, like when he has to get into the fight, it's not quite where you need it to be right now. He's got really good length. He needs to learn how to use that length more, especially in pass protection. Right? He plays too close to his body for a guy that's got super long arms. But he's a young O lineman, man. He's barely played. So I'm excited about his future, but I think he's better than what he put on tape on Saturday night.
Yeah. Still hasn't played a whole lot.
No.
I mean, his game reps are still super minimal. So it's probably going to take him a little bit of time, and it's good that they're starting to work him in. And I don't know, is the trust there with the knee?
He seems to be moving well, but yeah, that's one of the things, like you can squat and lunge and push all the sleds, like all that stuff, but to get all the way back, like to move people, you got to practice moving people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's been practicing for a long time now, but it's one thing to go out there and do it in practice, and then go out there and do it on a game against an Iowa State guy that's two-gapping the hell out of you.
Yeah.
So he'll get there. He'll get there. Clearly, they're excited about him, right? He's working in there at left tackle. Left guard, Troy Everett, thought he did some good things. This is a very niche comment. Of the interior guys, he's actually the best zone blocker. And you can tell, the way you can tell is, first of all, he's smart enough to cut his split down when he's on the backside of zone, right? Which that's what smart linemen do. Like, let's reduce that space just a little bit, and then I gotta go fly and run and try to dig out a nose guard. But he's quick in his lateral movements in those situations, and I like that. He comes off the ball, but there's still moments, man, where you can see like the lack of size, the lack of length are an issue. He continues to get pulled quite a bit. But the thing about Everett is I never question the effort. right? And I think his confidence is growing, but I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't worried about him having to block some of those guys from Texas next week. That'd be a lie, right? Because they got really good size and really good length in the interior.
Mhm.
And Byron Murphy, who isn't a big guy for them, has a really good hand placement and has really good play strength. So but you're gonna have to figure it out, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good to see that he's finding some different things in there, some different nuance to be effective, even though he's given up quite a bit size wise with where he's working.
Yeah. Andrew Rame thought he did a good job of directing traffic, right, in protection in the run game. Not sure what's going on. Like he went back to not using his hands. A lot of flipper, a lot of forearm, a lot of just hitting guys with his head and shoulder. Rame, for the love of God, please use your hands, man, and grab people. And as a result of him just wanting to be a battering ram, like got pulled in pass pro because of it. It just, please, you're doing it earlier in the season. Just grab and hold people, please.
It's I'm sure it has a lot to do with the headbutt machine that he's blocking every single snap, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like
But
you get into a point where it's almost like a protection mode.
yeah, no, I get it. But McCade Matoyer, it's the same thing every game with 72. There's moments where you see his limitations. He's not blowing anyone off the ball. It seems like he's always going the right place. But yeah, I am. If they're going to run zone successfully, he's got to be better on the backside. Like you got to unhitch the wagon, man. You got to take the trailer off. You got to put it in fourth gear. You got to get going. He needs to cut his split down is what he needs to do. But if they're going to utilize that concept, he's got to be better on the backside. Tyler Guyton, a little up and down, right? Some really good stuff in pass protection at times. This is what I'm going to say. I think he's kind of just getting by in the run game. And I think there's more there. A lot of the times he's on the right guy. He's engaged. He's blocking him, but he's got more. He's got more than what he's showing me. And I want to see it. Yeah. Now we got to see it against Texas. But yeah, he has some plays where you're just like, okay, man, like, come on, let's go.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that because at any time we can get into an up-tempo 10 or 12 play drive, that we get into this spot where a lot of guys are saving?
It feels that way a little bit. And I've been there. I've lived that life.
Yeah.
Right. You got to pick your spots, but it is I'm sure you noticed this. You saw how Iowa State's guys came off the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that group had not been impressive up to that point.
Right.
They were huddling, taking their time. Like you play, there's a rhythm to it, right?
Yeah.
Right. You play the play, you empty the tank, you recharge. There's not a lot, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of recharging.
Right.
At points.
I feel like that has to affect it to some point, affect it like both physically on the back end of drives and mentally on the front end of drives, because like that, like for both offensive and defensive guys, whenever you get into like you're over 7-8 plays in a drive, like it becomes like an oxygen suck fest out there where everyone feels like they're about to die. And it's like a power of wills, like who's going to collapse first, the offense or the defense.
Yeah, I hear you. But the run game, it is what it is at this point. It's not explosive. it's okay. Right. But yeah, man, I've reached the acceptance. This is a team where the passing attack is the strength.
Yeah.
So the rest of the way, when you play better teams, Dillon Gabriel's got to be really, really good. Wide receivers got to be really good. Now, I will say this about the O-line. Pass protection has been the strength of the group, right?
That felt like one of the better days they've had in pass pro for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, there's plays here and there, guys get beat here and there. That's football. But overall, thought they did a good job of keeping Nate clean. Only position we haven't talked about is tight end. Stogner got himself a catch. Look at Stog go.
That was a beautiful ball too.
Yeah. But this is my assessment of Stogner. Okay. More than willing on the split zone stuff, the zone insert stuff, but especially against Texas, keep him away from the point of attack, right? Where like his block is what I call the inflection point of a play. That is not his strength. Dad, that's how I'm going to describe it. How about that?
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I think I agree with that. He's got some good size to him. He's kind of caught in that between being a blocking tight end and a pass catching tight end, right? He's kind of in no man's land a little bit there, where he's good at both, but maybe not great at either.
I think that's a fair assessment.